Welcome to this episode where we analyze the rising tension between the United States and China in the realms of defense and technology, focusing on restrictions on sensitive technologies, increasing military drills, and shifting regional alliances. We begin with the big picture. Over the past decade, the relationship between the two has undergone a profound rebalancing of global power as they race to advance technologically and militarily and redraw the rules of the game in the Indo-Pacific region, all while each side aims to protect its vital interests and regional power balances. In this context, three main facets stand out that deserve attention. First, export restrictions on sensitive technologies that push each side to build its own supply chains and modernize its defense posture. Second, heightened military exercises and a more visible military presence in tense zones, with clear messages from both sides that deterrence and defense are foundational elements of their strategies. And third, the reconfiguration of international alliances and regional blocs as each side seeks to impose a security and policy umbrella that reduces dependence on the other. Against this backdrop, many questions arise. In which direction will developments in sensitive technologies move? And what are the boundaries of cooperation or competition in areas such as semiconductors, artificial intelligence, space technologies, and secure communications? How do these restrictions and exercises affect global supply chains and the decisions of partner nations? And what does this mean for the international community in terms of economic and political stability? Let us take a step back to understand the drivers of the escalation. From the U.S. perspective, there is a clear interest in preserving technological supremacy in vital areas that could become weapons in the future, particularly in semiconductors, AI-enabled systems, space, and secure communications. This translates into imposing restrictions on exports of sensitive technologies that curb China's ability to accelerate its defense and technological development, pushing China to strengthen its own capabilities and develop local tech pathways to reduce dependence on the West. China, for its part, sees these measures as an attempt to limit its ability to leverage advanced technologies and is recalibrating its alliances and regional blocs to pursue paths of collaboration and exchange that balance power dynamics, while strengthening its defensive capabilities and steering investment towards strategic technologies such as space, AI, and cyber warfare. Additionally, protecting vital supply chains and investing in local manufacturing capacity become increasingly important, a trend that reshapes economic and trade relationships and cultivates a more volatile and competitive environment. Turning to the mechanisms of escalation, export controls stand out as a primary tool for both sides to influence the other's capabilities. These controls may target sensitive technologies such as advanced communications components, wafer and processor materials, or sensing and surveillance systems. In response, military drills and more overt deployments in sensitive regions like the Indo-Pacific deepen mutual signaling and demonstrate each side's ability to manage military operations and share security information. These elements are complemented by diplomatic channels that wax and wane with the international climate, driving shifts in regional alliances where each side seeks to build or bolster a political and economic shield to sustain its policies and secure its interests. On the economic side, there are potential impacts such as higher technology costs, disruptions to supply chains, and volatility in financial and energy markets, along with shifts in corporate and investor confidence in a highly competitive and uncertain environment. Regarding future scenarios, three main paths seem plausible. The first path confines escalation to technical dialogue and trust-building mechanisms, opening channels for experts and regulators to manage tech disagreements and reduce risks through safeguards and transparency in controls. This path could establish a stable baseline while preserving each side's vital interests. The second path points toward ongoing escalation with recurring deterrence cycles where restraining measures, drills, and negative messaging intensify, creating a more strained environment that prompts other states to reassess alliances and defense and tech investments. The third path involves reconfiguring regional alliances and investment flows, with areas like Asia and the Indo-Pacific undergoing power reallocation and bloc formation, potentially giving rise to new cooperative models based on transparency, governance of technology, and clearer security partnerships. There are no fixed certainties, but these are plausible trajectories that could be tempered through diplomatic tools, regional trust building, and collaboration in non-contentious tech domains to improve medium-term stability. Politically and economically, this escalation raises pressing questions for policymakers and the international community. A major challenge is to maintain openness and innovation while safeguarding vital interests and national security. This means choices that extend beyond defensive or economic measures to include a global regulatory framework that ensures the responsible use of sensitive technology with clear standards of transparency and legal guarantees. Technically, the two sides could open technical channels for cooperation in clearly defined fields characterized by transparency and guarantees, such as cybersecurity knowledge sharing and the development of joint standards for military AI and defensive systems with safeguards to prevent misuse and reduce the risk of unintentional tech-driven conflicts. Strengthening regional dialogue and transparency in drills in critical areas could also reduce misperception and mitigate escalation risks. In this analysis, we must consider two parallel approaches, preserving technological and defense superiority while building trust and transparency mechanisms. Ultimately, the international community's ability to balance national interests with a mutually respectful path towards scientific advancement will determine our capacity to continue security and economy-driven cooperation and to avoid sliding into an endless cycle of reciprocal responses and escalation. If nations can define the boundaries for the use of technology and implement a clear regulatory framework that guarantees transparency and information sharing, while maintaining ongoing high-level US-China dialogue at expert and diplomatic levels, we may reduce the risks of escalation and lay a pathway towards stability that can be relied upon. I know this image is complex, but it is important to recognize that shifts in alliances and the balance between economic power and technology can reshape the global order in a few short years if we bring together all these threads. The overarching goal is not merely victory in a tech competition, but the creation of a framework that preserves global stability and ensures that technological progress enhances human welfare rather than deepening divides and fueling tensions. Toward the end of this episode, I invite viewers to share their thoughts on the best path to maintain stability and reduce tension. Should we pursue broader technical dialogue and formal cooperation on standards and guarantees, or continue to strengthen capabilities and blocks while expanding oversight and transparency? Please share your opinions in the comments.